Hello, my name is Natasha Espada, and I'm the principal of Studio Enée Architects. With me today, Susan Knight from Studio Enée as the project manager, and Linda Eastley, our collaborating master planner from E&P. Today, we're going to talk about Framingham State University's Campus Master Plan Workshop 8, which is the consensus solution. And our agenda for today is to talk about the Campus Master Plan goals that we've created with you, the process and the schedule. Then we're going to talk about the Master Plan consensus solution, the building renovation opportunities, the phasing and implementation strategy. And then at the meeting that we will have next week, we will talk about the discussion and next steps. So what is a campus master plan? It's a comprehensive and long-range 10-year vision that is aspirational yet implementable over time. It addresses opportunities for both interior and exterior spaces, advancing near-term priority projects within the broader context of the campus, identifying opportunities for areas in the university to work towards shared objectives, a flexible framework to support decision-making. All of this is tied to student success, and the process is collaborative and intended to build consensus. And here on the right is your strategic plan, which is in the Campus Master Plan, which was created in 2024 and 2029. And the goals is to leverage the public good mission for impact, to innovate for student success, and to nurture a diverse and thriving community that creates spaces that inspire, and fortifying the foundation for excellence. So with all of that, we created with you the FSU Master Plan principles, which is we have 7 principles. The first one is to showcase FSU's work. The second one is to elevate these learning spaces with technology, furniture, and room configurations. The third one is to repurpose and reimagine the infrastructure to align with the strategic goals. The fourth is to invest in open spaces that are accessible, universal, and integrated. The fifth one is to create a sustainable campus through physical, fiscal, and climate justice initiatives. And we're also doing a decarbonization study in alignment with this. Number 6 is to engender a sense of community throughout the whole campus. And 7 is to accelerate partnerships and internships that connect us to our community. So for the schedule, we are here in October. As you can see, we're in part task 4 of the consensus solution. We're currently cost estimating. And when we look at it, this is today's meeting, workshop 8, where we're talking about the final vision, the FSU, with the FSU Master Planning Steering Committee, the president, the executive staff, and the FSU Board of Trustees. Cost estimating is continuing until the end of October, where we will have the cost, and then the final report will be sent in mid-November. And so the master plan consensus solution begins with the master plan opportunities. Here we can see the master plan. Some of the highlights of the opportunities is the connection, a strong connection through State Street, create gateway in the center of the campus and on both sides of State Street, create a pedestrian spine that goes from West Hall all the way over to the current library, create open spaces here on State Street and maintain the ones that are the quads on the campus, and then look at student services, student study, and learning spaces and shared community spaces throughout. The master plan vision includes this heart of campus, which is currently going to be reinforced by the principles that we just talked about, creating open space on State Street, a pedestrian spine and corridor here in yellow that connects the campus as well, re-envisioning the library either in its current location or a new location, a new home for admissions, and maximizing McCarthy as a student center. The master planning consensus solution concept, we have 2 of them. We have one that has an alternate as well, and it all stems on the location of the library. We have a library here shown as the new learning commons at the heart of the campus in the site where Foster Hall is currently located. We looked at the 11 pieces that and the 11 buildings that basically create this new consensus solution. So the second one is the Admissions Welcome Center building, future alternatives under consideration. We looked at Lindsley Hall for renovating to faculty, staff, or graduate student housing. We looked at McCarthy as a student center that's renovated to activate it for students. Foster Hall and the daycare building to demolish it to create that new learning commons. The Athletic Recreation Center at Dwight Hall, a moderate renovation and expansion. The Hemingway Hall and Annex to create high-flex classrooms and an AI hub and the relocation of communication, media, and performance. O'Connor Hall, a departmental home for School of Education. Crocker Hall, departmental home for School of Business. Pierce Annex to renovate to accommodate admissions. And the open space accessibility and connectivity is to activate open space on campus and new pedestrian spines. And we're going to go through them a little more in depth in a second, but we just wanted to show you what this would look like in 3D. The kind of beige yellowish buildings are the buildings to remain. The renovation of the buildings are the ones that are in light blue that we just discussed. The dark blue is the new construction of this new learning commons. And then there's an opportunity for the site here where the current library is located as an open space or as a future site. An alternative to this is looking at renovating the library and creating an open space where Foster Hall is located. And when you look at the plan, this is the renovation of the library and this new open commons with the pedestrian spine that connects all of the green spaces on campus and connects the campus all the way from West Hall all the way to the library. And as you can see, this is a view of the current condition as you're going up towards State Street. Here is a plan. We are standing at this location looking up with the new library commons on the right, on the left, dining hall and McCarthy on the right, and this new connection of stairs and ramps and seating and student spaces that create this new campus center. And in this location, we have looking down at the spine, and here is the view. And this will come down all the way down to Church Street with again the learning commons on the right. We have McCarthy Center on the left, and this new connector of ramps, sloped walkways, seating areas, and stairs. And then this is the location. If there is a new library learning commons that we're proposing, we're looking at it for the view from Church Street and the view from State Street. And I'm going to let Susan talk a little bit more about the massing and also the program.
Thanks, Natasha. The massing shown here is imagining a right-size learning commons at 65,000 GSF, gross square feet. You can see a kind of main spine in the middle of the massing shown in dark blue with 3 volumes shown around it, as well as a kind of open space along the pedestrian spine, which could be another opportunity for learning. At the front on State Street, imagining where the entry could be, and an extended plaza connecting from the Learning Commons to McCarthy. This slide is explaining the thinking about what the new Library Learning Commons, the program for that could be, and comparing it to the existing Whittemore Library and Doyle IT Center program. So understanding that the new library would be 65,000 GSF, right-sized, and thinking about the different categories or types of program spaces, which would include student study, shown in blue, library services, collection and archives, shown in orange, both of those similar size between the existing library and the new Learning Commons, centers and institutes, shown in yellow, with more program space in the new Library Learning Commons for CASA tutoring program. IT and technology shown with a slightly reduced square footage in the new Library Learning Commons. A lobby and cafe, again, a slightly reduced square footage in the Learning Commons because of the adjacency to McCarthy. Building support, a little bit less square footage in the Library Learning Commons. And then the addition of health services shown at the new Library Learning Commons location to replace the program that's currently in Foster Hall. This diagram shows a strategy for location of program within the massing that was shared a couple of slides ago. Again, three to four stories on State Street, so scaled similar to McCarthy, with lobby, centers, and library services shown on State Street. And then along the pedestrian spine, you can see program for student study. And again, library services to open up to McCarthy to create a synergy there. This is a view of the existing condition with Foster in the foreground at State Street and McCarthy just beyond. And then in the next slide, you can see a rendering for what this could be with the Library Learning Commons shown on the right, with the expanded plaza opening up to McCarthy shown in the background of this image. And in the alternate scenario where Whittemore is renovated and Foster Hall is demolished on this site, this is another opportunity for more open space to create expanded open space and exterior space for students at the heart of the campus. The next series of slides are about building renovation opportunities. And Linda's going to present proposed program relocation, classroom recommendations, and then we'll go more specifically into the opportunities at Pierce, O'Connor, Hemingway, Whittemore, and McCarthy.
Thank you, Susan. One of the bold ideas that we had during the master plan was to imagine how to use your existing space in the best way possible. And so you can see some of those macro moves on this diagram, and you have State Street running through the center of the diagram from left to right. So as you can see, each of these buildings and spaces are tied into the legend on the left, and the red arrows represent where we would be recommending program move from and to. So in the case of admissions, where you have the existing Welcome Center in Building E, we would be recommending that admissions would actually move into the CASA space in Pierce Hall. That would be the new receiving space for admissions. To be able to do that, we would move CASA either into the new Library Learning Commons or into a renovated library. We have some uses within O'Connor Hall that we would like to co-locate in the Student Center, including advising, CIE, CCE. And then we liked the idea, as did the campus, of shifting the bookstore from the existing rec center and co-locating that in the Student Center. We then took a closer look at classroom recommendations, and as a team we had a chance to walk through each of your classrooms on campus and to actually create a database that included things like the learning conditions, lighting, number of seats, and type. And one thing that we noticed and we talked about with our committees is the idea that you have a classroom type that is the long tables and movable chairs. You also have a few seminar style classrooms, but you don't have a wide portfolio of classrooms that we would call flipped learning, where you're allowed to have pods of students who are working together on projects and can do that with whiteboards and projections and then present back to the class. So this was a priority as we began to look at your existing space. In the left-hand side of the slide, you can see that you have just short of 60 classrooms today. There was a study that was done in the fall of 2024 and was then published in 25, and we were asked to look at that. And in that study, there was a proposal that your classrooms would be cut by approximately half to about 30 classrooms. As we've been working there on campus, though, and having a lot of conversations with academic affairs and others, we feel that the master plan is better proposes 40 classrooms. So we would be asking that the campus would retain about 40 classrooms. You can see in the diagram that we've shown how that might occur. The numbers in each of the black shapes, which are buildings, the number on the left represents the existing number of classrooms you have today. And then the number on the right represents the number of classrooms that we would suggest that you retain. And this, of course, will be part of further discussion that you'll have there at the university. So we'll have a chance to walk through some of these in the coming slides, just point out a few things. If you look at building B, which is Dwight Hall, this building today has 7 classrooms that are on the central register. And what we're suggesting is that this building, instead of becoming a classroom building or continuing as a classroom building, would actually become an administrative building and really support the other work that's done on campus. And then if you look at building I, which is O'Connor, we're suggesting that this would become a more robust classroom center, and we would actually be introducing a new type of classroom that we'll chat about in just a minute. And then building K, which is the student center, we're suggesting that those 3 classrooms would actually become either multi-purpose space or they would be renovated for other uses that the university needs. We wanted to share a few examples of what we're thinking about. So this is an image of Hemingway Hall, and this is actually the lowest level, which you call level 1. And in this level, if you walk down the stairs, come in the main entrance and walk down the stairs, you'll notice that you have an existing computer lab. And it's actually a very large space today that is underutilized. And what we would like to recommend here is that this becomes your new AI hub. And we envision that that would be a multi-purpose space in the yellow, and then we would have some specialty spaces like a virtual reality room and also a flipped learning classroom that would be available to the full university. We like this location because you have invested in the existing lounge that would be immediately outside of the AI hub. There's wonderful furniture there, students hang out there, and the thought is that you would create a glass wall in between that existing lounge and into the hub so that you have this transparency to be able to see the activity that would be occurring there. We wanted to next share O'Connor Hall. So we mentioned just a moment ago that we were envisioning more classrooms in O'Connor Hall. The recommendation through the master plan is that this becomes the home for the School of Education. And to do that, what we would like to do is shift some of the spaces that are currently on the bottom floor and outlined in the red dotted line to the Student Center. That frees up that space for College of Education expansion. Because you are doing all of this innovation in teaching and learning within the College of Education, we want to showcase that. And so the suggestion is that we would introduce 4 flipped learning classrooms, which are shown in the salmon color. This is a long span space on campus, which means that we don't have a lot of columns or walls that need to remain. And this allows us to have these large, often square-shaped classrooms that allow for these cluster of desks that we described earlier, where you can have projection and whiteboards. So we're really excited about locating this here with the School of Education. And it also helps us to enliven a lounge that exists right now as you come off of State Street that's not well utilized. And then some study spaces that students, and particularly commuter or graduate students, could use and sign out, which is located in the blue color. We also took a look at what it might look like to have admissions move to the current CASA space. As you know, there are some really lovely Palladian windows that are along the south side of this building. We think it would be a wonderful first impression for prospective students and their families. And so the idea here is one of many different types of layouts that we could explore in the future, but we would be introducing a presentation room, lobbies, and certainly the offices. And the idea for the flexible presentation room is that when you might have a smaller cohort of students and prospective families coming in, that presentation room shown in the blue color could be available as a large multi-purpose space for other campus uses.
At Whittemore, at Whittemore Library and Doyle IT Center, we looked at the alternate to renovate Whittemore. And this is one study to look at programmatically what the opportunities are. So starting here at the middle of the plan, level 1 is the main entry off of the upper quad here with the IT help desk, group study spaces, and entry with cafe and terrace shown. On all levels, but in particular on the first level, there's lounge student study spaces at the same level, not kind of depressed or sunken into a void, so that student activity and students in general are visible as soon as you enter the library. Moving up to the upper mezzanine, the CASA program is shown relocated there in yellow, as well as additional group study spaces and 4 classrooms in the renovated Whitmore Library. Level 2 shows additional lounge and study space in blue, as well as future program opportunity in the kind of darker green color. And then moving down to the lower mezzanine and ground floor levels are additional program space for classrooms and digital humanities at the lower mezzanine. And then at the ground floor, the opportunity for a new entry from the parking garage, another librarian's desk, and the print shop with an exterior entry. We looked at opportunities to really maximize McCarthy Student Center for student services and an expanded student space. Level 3, State Street, which is the level shown in the middle of the diagram, is really the main entry. Shown here, you can see the red arrow is where you would enter off of State Street. And on this level, we're showing really expanded student space in blue, CIE shown in orange, very visible and prominently located at right off of the entry of the building, as well as new student services touchdown space. Moving up to level 4, consolidated student services opportunities in orange, as well as the CCE, the potential for a new outdoor terrace shown in the light brown color, and additional student club space shown in blue. And then on level 5, program space for consolidated student services and advising. And then moving down to level 1 and level 2. Level 1, the police are located there now, and we would recommend that they remain there based on our discussions with FSU. And then at level 2, a new plaza outside of the McCarthy West entrance, as well as an expanded vestibule at that location if you enter from the parking side. So we'd like to talk a little bit about the phasing and implementation strategy for all of these projects and ideas. So this slide ties back the master planning principles that we looked at the beginning of the presentation with the proposed projects. So the principles are listed on the left column on the screen, 1 through 7, and then the proposed projects are in blue at the top of the screen. So as you can see, all of the projects align with the principles. Many of them align with all, if not a significant number of the principles shown here with the check marks. So we'd like to look at we've been looking at 2 proposed phasing and implementation timelines. The first one here is for the new library learning commons scenario. The diagram shows 3 phases. The first phase on the left being for the 0 to 5 year time frame. Phase 2 in the middle is 5 to 10 years. And then phase 3 is 10 plus years out. I do want to note that the potential funding sources are also noted here, and proposed projects are, as an initial idea, kind of connected to what those funding sources might be. So looking at the 0 to 5 year time frame in yellow, you can see here at the top of the screen, the AI Hub, CM&P relocation projects, as well as the CM&P labs. In green, the Lindsley Hall design and construction project shown in green. And then moving down to the blue section, the bookstore relocation to McCarthy, athletic center minimum renovation, and a minimum renovation at the admissions house, as well as the start of some of the McCarthy Center space reassignments, CIE, CCE, advising, and clubs. And then in the 5 to 10 year phase 2, looking at Hemingway annex space reassignments and Crocker reassignments and O'Connor reassignments in blue. A determination about where would the daycare center program be relocated to after the foster hall and daycare are demolished, a temporary relocation for health services, and then the start of the library learning commons study and design, which would continue with construction through phase 2. And then the 10 plus year timeframe is shown with the relocation of admissions, the design and construction of the pedestrian spine, and then the demolition of the existing Whittemore Library and potential future projects that could happen at that site. And this alternate renovated library phasing and implementation timeline is similar to the one we just saw in the previous slide, except what we see in yellow at the bottom of the screen, where the Whittemore Library renovation and study and design and construction would happen in lieu of the new library. Health services relocation could happen in the 5 to 10 year time frame. As well as the demolition of Foster Hall and the daycare and the pedestrian spine and open space projects in the 5 to 10 plus year timeframe.
And the difference between the one and the alternate is the new learning commons versus the renovated library, as
Yes.
Susan just mentioned. So at the meeting, we will have a discussion, but just big picture for next steps. We'll have, as I mentioned before, the cost estimating end of October, and then the master plan report will be completed by mid-November. So thank you very much for your time. We look forward to seeing everyone on October 22nd. And thank you again, and we hope to have a great discussion then.